that's not nearly as important as my guest today, Jenny Tolman. I'm going to be bringing her in momentarily, but first, I got to give thanks and show love to our great sponsors. Audio-Technica USA. They've been down with HelloooTV since day one, and we want to send a sincere thank you to them. Next, we have Spartan Brews Coffee Company, coffee and apparel for all your needs. If you need some more coffee, we have NooWave, who are bringing us Flow-State-Coffee, which is for the creative types like you and I. Yeah, it keeps your brain focused, gets done what it needs to get done. And last but not least, AEH Accounting. Go to aehaccounting.com. Start getting your taxes ready early this year. It's been a weird year, so let AEH Accounting help you. Now, without much further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest, the lady of the hour, the woman of the hour, the woman with the power, Jenny Tolman. Welcome to Hello Hangs, Jenny Tolman. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Of course. We're very excited about your show. We also have big appetites about the show as
Yeah,
well, which we'll get into a little bit. Where are you at the moment right now?
I am at my home in Nashville, Tennessee.
Are you a born and raised Nashvilleian?
I am. They call
Oh,
us unicorns. So I always say that I'm going to dress up as a unicorn for Halloween, but not call myself a unicorn, call myself a Nashville native. But I feel like it's maybe a little too inside to actually be funny.
well, I would ask, why unicorn? Because there's so few of you, it's like you don't
Yeah,
exist.
because we're so rare.
Oh, yeah, because Nashville,
You never see one.
I moved from Los Angeles recently, and Los Angeles, like Nashville, presumably, tons of transplants. It's full of people from
Mm-hmm.
everywhere else, like I was. But you are a real unicorn.
Actually born and raised. It's crazy. I never realized that people weren't from here until I got into the music industry.
Maybe that's the industry where you discover and encounter the most amount of transplants.
Mm-hmm.
No?
I think so, but I don't know. It's grown so much because all different industries are here now with Amazon and Nissan and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, you've been around a long time playing music. I'm curious now, a lot of the people that have been in your bands and folks that you shared the stage with, are they also unicorns or are they transplants?
No, I'm actually the only one.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous.
Yeah, I hardly ever meet anybody else or play with anybody else that's from here, but yeah, everybody comes here, so I guess I was born in the right place.
Yes. Well, you are a great artist. You're very unique, and you're very unique in that you kind of use your social media platforms as a manner of combining your love for music, which makes sense
Mhm.
because you're a musician, but also with your love of food and cooking. And I'm curious, do you have a greater love for food that comes from kind of a background of working in that world, or is it just always kind of been a love, a joyful hobby of yours?
Yeah, well, I actually started about 10 years ago. I went to a holistic doctor and he put me on this crazy anti-inflammatory diet that I still follow to this day, and I
Okay.
still to this day. And so, but back then, 10 years ago, I was in school and all my friends were eating pizza and making cookies. So I was like, well, what do I eat? Because I couldn't eat gluten, dairy, eggs, soy, sugar. I mean, all this stuff. It was like, what? For a kid that age. And so my mom did it with me as well, and she continues to be gluten free to this day too. And we just started teaching ourselves how to make things and learning and buying all these different specialty cookbooks that we could find because there just wasn't hardly anything to choose from, and anything at the grocery store was just terrible back then. It was all
Right.
cardboard, and so yeah, it was kind of out of a necessity, I guess, that I learned how to start cooking and baking all of these things that I couldn't eat anymore. And so I was like, well, I don't want to live my life without pizza or or
Cookies.
any of these things that are fun. And so I just started teaching myself and learning, and through that process really fell in love with it because it's just a whole nother way to be creative outside of music. So
That's
over
wonderful.
the quarantine period time, we started doing quarantine kitchen, which was just a fun way to kind of start incorporating that since I wasn't able to tour, and we were doing lots of online shows. I was like, well, I guess there's other talents and things that I like to do that we can showcase and kind of help spread some cheer with during this time. And so we started doing the quarantine kitchen.
Excellent. All right, rapid fire. Here we go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Oh man. Probably pizza because I just said that. Yeah.
Fair enough. What's your favorite dish to make?
Okay, I have a pasta dish that is, I call it my not famous pasta because I make it for anybody who comes over for dinner. I always make it for them if it's their first time coming over. Yeah, it's really good.
Nice. Now let's switch gears. Who is your favorite fellow female country artist?
Dolly Parton.
I knew you were going to say that. I had a feeling you were going to say that. And not because I think it's a cop-out answer. I think it's a great answer. But your music, anyone who's listened to your music, you can kind of get a sense that you do a good balancing act between bringing tradition and a little bit of that Dolly vibe and that Opry vibe.
Yeah.
Very much bringing it into the new school. How do you kind of map your trajectory for what you want to do with your music? Do you think about that balance? Or do you try to just kind of forge your own way and wherever it falls, it falls?
Yeah, I think it definitely starts from an organic place, but definitely it's still the music business. And so you try to figure out, okay, how are we going to take this and make it marketable and make it something that can be very successful. And so that's why I love Dolly, is because I feel like she's very authentic to who she is. And she definitely has her own way of going about things. But she's found a way to be herself, to be funny and humorous but still be taken seriously, and be beautiful and smart and intelligent and all these things that she's been able to accomplish while being successful and taken seriously. So that's something that I really try to model my business after. But the music is definitely an organic, this is what it is, and then I build the business around it.
Sure. Well, the reason why we're talking to you is because you are playing a live stream concert, a full-on, full production, great looking, great sounding live stream concert on HelloooTV. And this is the 12th, December 12th. So it's coming up at the end of this week. So be sure to get your tickets, get all your information at HelloooTV.com. That's HelloooTV.com. And I have a few more questions, if that's all right.
Let's go.
So, 2019, you released There Goes the Neighborhood. I believe that was your first kind of proper record.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a lot of storytelling. Is it all storytelling, or is it kind of blended and braided in with your personal story and your personal life as well?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of braiding. I like that word. I've never used that to describe it before, but lots of storytelling, but lots of braiding as well. I love to take, inspiration. I think all artists love to take inspiration from our real lives or from people that we know or stories that we hear, but then also incorporate, well, this is an experience that I had, so we can kind of blend these two together to make a story out of it and a song and forge its own little pathways. But yeah, it's definitely lots of characters because the album is based in an imaginary world called Jennyville. And it's kind of, I guess since Dolly has Dollywood, I was like, well, here we go with Jennyville. But my producer, Dave Brainerd, actually came up with the Jennyville theme. And it was honestly just supposed to be a fun thing for us to go to when we're writing. It wasn't really ever supposed to be out into the world and like, okay, well, here's Jennyville. But it became such a normal, weird talking point for us that we would start saying things like on the street, we'd be like, oh my God, that's so Jennyville, or just starting using it as normal everyday vocabulary, that it was like, well, hold on, maybe this might be something that would be fun to actually put out into the world as the concept of the album and kind of include everybody that's listening and take them on this little journey through Jennyville. And so that's what we did. And we've just been building these characters and connecting these storylines. And if you listen all the way through front to back, there's so many little Easter eggs that you can find
Yeah, there's a lot
throughout.
of throwbacks and kind of,
Hmm.
yeah, that's really interesting. So what's the population of Jennyville?
It is infinite.
Infinite.
Because it's your mind. I always say that it's I try to be very careful to not ever overly define it, because I like to think of it as like a storybook. So a book doesn't have, like a novel doesn't have pictures, and because everybody that reads it gets pictures in their mind of what these characters look like and what the town and the setting and what everything looks like, and that's different to everybody. And so I like to think of it that way, and be a little careful to not be like, well, this is exactly what it is and this is exactly what they look like, because I love to give that creative freedom to the listener
And yeah,
to.
and that's exactly my point. That's why I had to ask, because in my
Yeah.
mind, Jennyville was about 14, maybe 15 miles southeast of
Hmm.
Murfreesboro and had a population of 675 people. That's
Love
that's where I was going.
it. That's what it is.
That's where I was going. But that record took you a long time to make. I read somewhere online that
Mhm.
it took you upwards of 5 years. Are we
Yeah, well,
expecting your next record in 2024?
no, we can expect it a little sooner than that.
Okay, good, good.
It was, it's funny because when I started working with Dave, my producer, we really weren't like setting out to, okay, now we're making a record. It was, we were writing together and these different ideas were forming. And so, really, we were just kind of writing together for a couple of years. And after 2 years, we were like, well, there seems to be this theme here. Maybe we actually should start putting together this concept. And so it was just a very, very slow, organic process because neither one of us was really like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. Until finally, one day, Dave was like, okay, well, I guess we're making a record. And I was like, okay. Yeah, it's a very odd process to describe.
Yeah.
But now that we know what we're doing, and we and we've worked together, and we've got all the songs for, I mean, a couple records, really, we're stocked up. And so we're just kind of having fun right now putting together the marketing plan, and all of the behind the scenes stuff that makes everything a lot more fun to listen to.
Yeah,
For the
so the new single "Invent a T-Shirt" is out. It's wonderful. Is that kind of a teaser for what's to come for the next record?
It's definitely a teaser for the sense of humor that's going to be
Okay.
heading your way.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of sense of humor in There Goes the Neighborhood as well. That's something that I love to do, is to find things that are, you know, pretty poignant, but make them humorous so that it's accessible to everyone, and that it's not just this heavy burden that we're all carrying around. Some of my favorite writers, like Dolly, are Shel Silverstein and Roger Miller, were a couple of my favorites as well. And they've just always been able to take subjects that are kind of heavy and awkward and uncomfortable, and put them into these storylines that have humor in them. And it makes it so much easier to digest that information and take it on as a human, as an emotional being.
Right.
And they found ways to just kind of, drive a point home with using humor. And so I've really studied that, and I love doing that with my music. So there's definitely a lot of that to look forward to.
Great. Well, what can we expect from your performance on Hello TV, and why should people tune in?
You should expect lots of sparkles and lots of fun and laughter, and some very delicious gluten-free vegan holiday brownies.
Wonderful. So we get music.
I keep telling everybody, I'm like, it's like nothing you've ever seen before, so you can't miss it.
It's like music and food.
Yeah, which everybody loves both of those. So what are you gonna do? Not watch? No.
Hey, you have to watch this. Well, great. Well, on behalf of everyone at Hello TV, we thank you very much for coming on. If you're watching this Hello Hangs interview with Jenny Tolman and myself, then you know that you need to get tickets for her show on the 12th. That's this coming Saturday. Do not miss it. HelloTV.com. HelloooTV.com. All right, Jenny, thank you so much. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
Saturday.
See
All
you
right.
then.
All right.
Bye.
Peace. And that was Jenny Tolman. Great to have her on Hello Hangs. It's going to be great to have her on our Hello TV stage and in our Hello TV kitchen on Saturday night. So don't miss it. Get tickets and more info at HelloTV.com.